Hello chess friends and welcome back to Jozarov chess channel. It's been a while since my last video. I've been to the Croatian seaside. I took some rest. I had a great vacation with my family, and we're starting now my comeback with an amazing, really spectacular gameplay by Alireza FIrouzja against Anish GIri from the Sinquefield Cup in 2024. Alireza FIrouzja won the event. He had a great performance, I would say. He had 3 wins and 6 draws in top GM level. He didn't lose any games against top grandmasters like WhiteElo, Jan Nepomniachtchi, Ding Liren, Anish GIri. So he outplayed basically the whole competition and is now the deserved winner of the Sinquefield Cup in 2024. And if Alireza continues to play like this, I could imagine a scenario where Alireza would be maybe even the #1 in the world. He recently also won the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz Chess event, is also participating in the semi-finals of the Speed Chess Championship in 2024. So I could really imagine maybe Alireza even to be the #1 in the world in classical time format chess, if of course Magnus Carlsen doesn't participate anymore in this event, because we know that Magnus Carlsen is not so often playing anymore this top event. So it gives now, I think, here Alireza FIrouzja a huge opportunity to be the #1 in the world. Of course, he'll not be the world champion in this year, but also I could imagine a scenario where Alireza FIrouzja could be even the world champion in chess for sure. So let's dive now into this game. Let's praise the winner of this event. We have here Alireza FIrouzja against Anish GIri. So with the white pieces, Alireza opened with move e4. Anish's response was e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, the Italian game, knight to f6, 2 knights defense, and now d3, simply fixing now the pawn on e4. We have bishop to c5, we have now the Giuoco Pianissimo, kingside calcing, and now d6, liberating of course the diagonal for the light square bishop. Alireza goes with c3 with the preparation later to play d4. We have now the move a5, which of course also prevents some ideas like b4 here. We have h3, preventing of course bishop to g4, and now we have kingside calcing also by Anish GIri. A very often played position. I think this position happened minutes of times in chess history. Very solid, of course, also set up for black. Black has this very dangerous bishop, white has this dangerous bishop, so it's, I think, playable really for both sides. Bishop to b3 here by Alireza, bishop to pardon me, h6 here by Anish GIri, and now rook to e1. This move of course liberates this path for the knight. Knight to d2, knight to f1, knight to g3, and if possible maybe to hop with the knight here on f5. We have rook to e8, we have knight to d2, and now bishop to e6. Also a standard defensive idea here by black, trying of course to get rid of this bishops, which are especially this bishop on b3, which is very dangerous against this pawn on f7. But Alireza of course is not interested in this scenario. Plays at least bishop to a4. At least he is trying to provoke some structural weaknesses. He's trying to somehow take out the knight and of course double up the pawn structure here on the queen. But Anish GIri says, okay, show me what you got. He plays now first of all the tricky queen to b8. This move allows him of course to be very dangerous here, but also if the b file clears, to be very dangerous, especially around the square b2. But Alireza takes simply bishop takes c6. We have b takes c6. Black has of course the problems of this pawn structure, has of course this double pawn structure on the c file, but the good part of course for black is that Anish GIri is continuing here with the bishop pair. In an open game the bishops are really solid. But look at this, how Alireza is playing now the game. Very I think instructive play here in the Italian opening. Knight to f1 with the same plan as that we have talked about. Knight to g3 and then knight to f5. That's the main plan. We have bishop to b6 here by Anish GIri, knight to g3, and I would say again pretty equalish position. If black and white play the game correctly, nothing spectacular is going on. But now a4 here by Anish GIri. We have d4, good counterplay here in the center of the board. Queen to a7. Now Anish puts more pressure here against this pawn on d4, but also indirectly also against this pawn on f2. If something clears on this diagonal, then this f2 pawn could be very vulnerable. Here we have bishop to e3, good move by Alireza, competing simply on this diagonal, and now queen to a5 here by Anish GIri. Queen to c1. Here Alireza is threatening immediately some tactics here around the square h6. I wanted to show you what happens if you don't react correctly, if you play a bad move like c5. This wasn't playing the game, but I wanted to show you how dangerous already this attack is by Alireza FIrouzja, then you get this one immediately. Bishop to h6, g takes h6, queen to h6, and there's nothing that can be done. If you, of course, play something like c takes d4, then you lose the knight on f6. If you compete here with knight to h7, then this knight is coming into the game. There's simply no good defense against both of these knights, against the queen, and you're getting checkmated in the next move. So very, very tricky stuff, this idea. Queen to c1 here by Alireza FIrouzja. We have here king to h7, must move for Anish GIri, knight to h4. Alireza continues the pressure against this weak square that we have talked about. The whole maneuver of the knight, knight to d2, knight to f1, knight to g3, knight to f5, but now this other knight is also supporting this f5 square. From this square, of course, Alireza is trying to do some dangerous stuff. And now knight to g8, again a good move, good defensive move here by Anish GIri. Knight to f5 by Alireza FIrouzja, and now Anish GIri doesn't react correctly. Basically, he has two choices. He can play bishop to f5 here, which is perfectly fine. Then after knight to f5, you can take out this one. Then after something like knight to d4, the issue is that the c6 pawn is hanging. Then after something like, I don't know, knight to e7, I would say pretty equalish position. This pawn is also weak. You can also, of course, maybe trade off this one, go for the e4 pawn, simply putting more pressure. But I think here with knight to e7, black is pretty solid. Has, of course, the weakness on c6, but also white has the weakness on e4. And this is one approach, very, very solid. But also maybe a more complicated approach, but also good approach for Anish GIri would have been the move g6, allowing here even knight takes h6, but then you pick up this one. Then you pick up the pawn on d4, and then after knight to h6, bishop to h6, you can also pick up this one. And here I would say I would love to play even more this position from black's perspective. Now the position is really, really open. The position is really dynamic, and you have the bishop pair on the board. So I would say good, really good setup here for black for sure. But after knight to f5, what Anish GIri did, he played now the move c5, and now Alireza had a huge opportunity immediately to spice up the game. I would dare to say it's almost like game over here for black. Alireza had the beautiful opportunity to play this stunning tactic, knight takes g7. Unfortunately, for the beauty of the game, Alireza missed this. Knight to g6, knight to g7, pardon me, would be so epic, so brutal, because if you play now king takes g7, then you have this beautiful intermediate d5. You hit the bishop. The position is locked out now for this bishop, and this bishop is not so well placed anymore. You have to play something like bishop to d7, and now you play bishop takes h6. This would be the epic follow-up here by Alireza FIrouzja. As I said, he didn't play that. This would be really one of the best games in 2020 for sure. 24 for sure, if Alireza would have played this line. Look at this, knight to h6, and then the queen is coming. You have to play something like this, knight to h5. You have to protect somehow the checkmate here. You're playing here rook to g8, knight to f6. You have to step back here from the defense, and then in some lines you get even checkmated. For instance, if you step back here to f8, the point is that we don't pick up the knight immediately. You just play the rook lift here with the rook to f3, putting more pressure. Black's pieces are paralyzed. You cannot get them somehow into the defense. Then after rook to f3, you have to give up the rook, or maybe if you go with your rook here, then you get even checkmated. Look at this. White continues the pressure, and there's simply no good defense anymore here for black. So let's go really back to this opportunity for Alireza FIrouzja. Knight takes g7 would be an incredible tactic, but unfortunately, as I said, Alireza played d takes e5. Still, white is better. It's not one of these mistakes that, of course, are bringing your opponent back into the game, but unfortunately, as I said, knight takes g7. Knight takes g7 would be very incredible. So here, bishop to f5 by Anish GIri, knight to f5, d takes f5. Still, as I said, white is better. First of all, what we have to notice, black's pawn structure is still messed up. You lost the bishop pair. You have c5, c7 weak, bishop on b7, b6 neutralized. paralyzed by its own pawn, so really not the optimal position here for Anish GIri. Here Alireza plays a very important follow-up with c4. He neutralizes further the bishop on b6. The bishop is simply locked out. It's really just a part of the pawn chain, really a beautiful bad bishop strategy that Alireza FIrouzja applied here. We have rook from a to d8. Anish GIri occupies the open file, and now of course Alireza competes with rook to d1, queen to a8, hitting now the e4 pawn, and now rook to d5. Good move again also by Alireza. If you play something like rook to d5, then you just improve the structure here for white. White has this very advanced pawn. We'll simply continue the pressure here around the square c5. You can never play really g6 now, because then this one is vulnerable, so really a messy position again here for black. So after rook to d5, that's why c6 by Anish. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and now queen to c2, queen to a6, rook to c1, and now rook to d7, a3 here by Alireza FIrouzja. Good move, not allowing a3 also to be played here by black. We have knight to f6, and now a tricky idea here by Alireza, queen to e2, because you cannot play knight takes e4 here, because you get this one, bishop takes h6, and then of course you lose the piece, and then there are several weaknesses in front of the king, so not a good position anymore for black. So that's why after queen to e2, we have queen to c8 here by Anish GIri, and now queen to c2, queen to a6 here. Anish GIri is trying to repeat moves, and again a tricky idea here by Alireza, queen to c3, again with this similar problem. I will not say the same problem, but again after knight to e4, the issue is that you get this one, queen to e5. If you try to play f6 to prevent somehow the checkmate here, then queen to e4, and the game is obviously lost. Game over here for black. So that's why after queen to c3, Anish is not touching anything. He's trying to simplify the game by trading off the queens, and now another beautiful move here by Alireza, b4. This is a great choice, because after a takes b3, queen to b3, Alireza created here already a very important pass pawn, which when we watch now from an endgame's perspective is very important. If the game simplifies till the end, if the pieces are off the board, then you see it's almost like white is playing here with an extra pawn, because this doubles pawns are held here by the pawn on c4. So that's really interesting idea. And again, the issue for black is here that you cannot pick up the pawn on e4, because you run into some tactics after queen to b1. You have to maybe step back, but then you get this one, knight to e7, discovered check, you're trying to escape, then you get this one, you're trying to escape, then we play something like this, knight to b6, knight to b8, the fork. The queen has to always stay connected to the bishop. That's the issue. That's the problem here for black. If you try to do something like this, then we simply pick up here this piece, and this is game over again here for black. So after queen to b3, you see again this pawn on e4 is very secure. Anish GIri cannot take it. So that's why bishop to c7. Here Anish is protecting now his weakness on e5. We have g3, queen to a6. Again, let's see, knight to e4, even now it's not working. Queen to c2, you're trying to do something like this, knight to h6, king to h8, queen to f5. Again, a very messy position, I would say, here for black. So that's why after g3, queen to a6, we have king to g2, a calm good move here by Alireza FIrouzja, simply improving the position of the king. Rook to d8, and now rook to a1. Good choice, I would say, again here by Alireza, simply supporting his main strength now, his passer, that he's of course trying to promote here on the a file. But again, here instead of this move rook to a1, I think Alireza FIrouzja had a beautiful opportunity with bishop to h6. He missed, I think, a couple of times in the game this opportunity to simply let the position explode here in front of black's king, because after g takes h6, you can play this one. Black is pretty much forced now to play knight to g8, but now you go simply with your queen here, trying of course to play queen to g4, queen to g7 checkmate. So black is forced now to play the move knight to f6, but then you have this one, knight takes h6, and then after king to h6, of course we pick up this one. The position is collapsing. If you try something like king to g7, then again knight to f5, and again I think this is not a good position for black. White will simply also push the pawns, will get the queen here. So very unpleasant position here to handle for black for sure. But again, let's see, bishop to h6, huge opportunity again for Alireza to spice up the game with some tactics here against black's king. But okay, a quieter approach here by Alireza, as we mentioned, rook to a1 with the support of the a-pawn. We have queen to c8, we have queen to c2, queen to d7, and now we have a simple rook to b1, trying of course to pin now this bishop to the queen. We have bishop to a5, now bishop to c5, and now Anish goes for trades of queens, which is in my opinion a good choice. He lost the pawn, but he's saying, okay, you have a weakness on e4, maybe you have a weakness on c4, maybe I can squeeze a draw if I play now the game correctly. Queen takes d3, rook takes d3, and you see now Alireza FIrouzja didn't react correctly immediately. He played now the move rook to b7. It seems tempting. Many of us would play the move rook to b7, but actually, believe me or not, this move leads now into equality. Suddenly, Anish GIri can play again a draw here. A better choice for Alireza FIrouzja was simply to play a calm f3, keeping everything good together, everything compact. At least you're not losing your e4 pawn. But after rook to b7, Anish says thank you. Knight takes e4. We have bishop to e3, and as I said, suddenly the game is again a drawish position. But here Anish GIri played now the blunder of the game. So far it was, I think, a one-way ticket always in white's favor, but now when the game was equalized, Anish should have played simply a rook to a3, allowing here rook to f7, and then you have king to g6 attacking both of these pieces, the rook and the knight, and you're out of this mess. Rook to f8, then you have to play bishop to b4. Black get challenged probably in this way, but then you step back, and as I said, I think this position can be held here by Anish GIri. But unfortunately for Anish, after bishop to e3, he played king to g6, and now it's a different story because Alireza has now a beautiful tactical sequence with knight to e7. After king to f6, he took now this pawn. The bishop is hanging, so that's why bishop to d2, and now a beautiful follow-up here by Alireza. Rook takes f7. Great move here by Alireza, because if you take, then you get knight to e5, the fork. So that's why Anish tried to battle, but Alireza delivers a new check. Again, a new check with the same pattern. You get the fork, but also in this tactical sequence, you lost the pawn in the center of the board. And I think it's really game over now. Knight to d3. Alireza is up now 3 pawns. Game over, I would say, here for Anish GIri. But okay, Anish is battling. Bishop to e3. F takes e3. As we said, the 3 pawns extra here for Alireza FIrouzja. Knight to d2. c5, king to d5, a4, simply pushing these pawns further, king to f3, getting the king closer, and now after move g5, e4, we have king to d4, and now a beautiful move, beautiful endgame technique here by Alireza FIrouzja. He played now the beautiful e5, sacrificing simply the knight, but this knight on c4 cannot hold 3 pawns. The position is simply too stretched now for the knight. If you take, of course, the pawn here, then it leads into a simplified endgame where white is up 2 pawns, so that's why king takes d3 was Anish GIri's continuation. But now a beautiful e6, knight to e5, king to g2. We have knight to c6, holding the position here around the square e7, but now a5, and in this particular position Anish GIri resigns. So let's play till the end here. If you try something like king to c4, white will simply push the pawn. You pick up this one, but now, as I said, the position is simply too stretched for the knight. You can pick up this one, but now after move e7, there's nothing that can stop now this pawn. It's game over, of course, here for black. So incredible game here by Alireza FIrouzja. Great tactics, great middle game ideas. Unfortunately, maybe he missed some very cool tactics here, but he played really great theory of the Italian game, of the Giuoco Pianissimo. Beautiful endgame technique we have seen. He dominated, I think, through the whole game. It was very hard for Anish to find really great defensive ideas. And I would also love to say here, when it comes to the Italian opening, I think Alireza FIrouzja has become now really the most dangerous player in the world, because he's outplaying now many of the top gems, especially in the Italian opening. He's very familiar with the strategic concepts, finds, I think, really solid, great ideas here, and also in in faster time formats, especially in these blitz bullet games. He sees really great tactics all over the board, so he's becoming really my favorite player now in the Italian Opening. So okay, let's congratulate again Alireza FIrouzja for winning another tournament, which is really becomes now quite often situation that Alireza is winning some events now, so he is really in top shape. And if you want to see maybe some other beautiful games played by Alireza FIrouzja, but also by some other top GMs, check out our commented chess games. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.